Hi there. Welcome to Business Leadership Podcast. In this podcast, I interview successful business leaders and industry experts to help you grow your business. I truly believe that sometimes single insight can completely change your business directions and allow you to achieve your business goals. In this episode, I interview Carson Pue from Quadrant Leadership. Carson is a executive mentor, and he's often called by C-suite to serve as a thinking catalyst during a very critical strategic decisions. And he's also author of best-selling Mentoring Leaders. Carson shares insights on leadership challenges and also opportunities lies ahead. And he recently finished a tour on a multiple U.S. states and for leadership conferences. He met with so many leaders, and he shares what he learned during these conferences. That what is expected from a leaders after this 2 years of a disruption, and how does that impact on a workplace, and especially on a hybrid environment, especially around the organization culture, what it takes to build, and how does it impact on a company performances. So if you like this content, don't forget to like and subscribe. Until next time, enjoy. Hi guys, welcome to Business Leadership Podcast. Today my guest is Carson Pue. Carson, this for the last couple of years where we've gone through with so many disruptions and economic downtimes, and the challenges for leadership just got way more critical than it was before. So a lot of leaders are struggling with it. I think you've been our discussion is going to add a lot of value to our listeners or viewers today. You've been helping and mentoring business leaders for many years. So I'm looking forward to learning from you. Looking forward to our discussion and sharing that wisdom with the audience. So thank you so much for time and welcome to the podcast.
Thank you, Gurmeet. It's good to be with you. And you're correct. Like leaders, everywhere I go right now, there is a great longing to try to figure out how to lead right now. And there's no part of North America where we're exempt from that, and even in other parts of the world.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll tell you what I tell other leaders about how to lead today in terms of areas of focus for them. I start with building a culture. I think that the new approach in leadership today, in this new era that we are in, is to focus a lot on building the culture of the organization. Mm-hmm. Everybody is struggling getting good workers to come and be with them. And I work with a lot of millennials, and there's some great people out there, but they're not attracted by what used to attract them to work for different organizations. Mm-hmm. They're actually looking for a culture, a personality in your organization. Now, this is new for many leaders, especially if you're a Gen X or baby boomer leader. You've not worked much at building culture. It just sort of has happened around you. Mm-hmm. And now this has to become a priority of working at actually building a culture. And maybe actually, at the end of our interview, I can send you some books that I would recommend that leaders could be reading about this whole idea of building culture in the organization. So that's the place where I would start.
Mm-hmm. So,
and then,
sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, go ahead. I was going to ask you, where is this need for cultures coming from? Is it something from social or just a generational that people looking for that? So I'm trying to understand, where is this need for having that culture in a company is coming from, this workforce?
Well, I think it preceded COVID, the COVID season, because you had companies like Google, Netflix, Apple. Those companies all worked at building a culture around their organization that was very attractive to people. Yeah. Now, in a post-COVID time, and it's not even really post-COVID yet, but when the world got really rocked in terms of the workforce, people working remotely, everything changed. Mm-hmm. And a lot of people are going, yeah, I don't want to go back to the office anymore. So the office or the workplace has to add something that's just more inviting. And it's not about money. It's not about even location. It's what's the culture that exists there? And are these people I want to go and be with? Even perhaps even on a Zoom meeting? Is it? So I'm not sure fully where it's come from, but I'm just saying it's a reality now that people want to buy into a culture. And there's certain things about that culture that are important, and I'll talk about that in a second. So first thing is build a culture. The second thing is that to lead today, you have to be willing to change your mindset. And it's hard for us as leaders. We get into our patterns, and we get very good at it. So we get really good at leading and behaving in a certain manner. But today, we have to learn to change that mindset, because if we can't break away from the past, we won't be able to kind of engage any new practices. And everywhere I look today, people are having to engage new practices, how to deal with hybrid working situations or completely virtual teams. And it's all new learning that's happening. So I refer to it as holding the hand of a lot of leaders to just help them realize they're going to have to change their method of leadership, their leadership style, if you like. A third area that is new, it actually should have been there the whole time, but it's something that is absolutely a necessity now. And that is that leaders have to focus on the well-being of all of their staff. That we have to care about mental health. We have to normalize conversations in the office about mental health, and we have to help them to just feel that it's okay to be asked, how are you doing? How are you really doing? And not have any shame attached to that, because there is such stress in the marketplace right now that it's, a good leader is going to care about the well-being of their people. And it can be as simple as I think I use the phrase normalizing conversations about mental health. We have to take any stigma away from that and realize a lot of people are really struggling with it. And people really close to me are struggling with it. So it's a real thing for me.
If you're not directly struggling, somebody in your family is struggling with it, or somebody in your in your friend circle, so somebody is already struggling with it, is you rather have that discussion with them.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and I think you're right. We all know somebody who's probably going through this struggle of their own kind of just their way of coping right now. How are they doing that? And some practical things may be that we have to build into our HR policies some kind of mental health break days, or we have to be more flexible with working hours and all of that. These are big challenges for businesses and organizations that have been built around an 8 to 4 or an 8 to 5 template, and where they see everybody in the same building at the same time getting everything done. And now we have to look at some other ways of kind of responding to all of that.
I see. So those are three good points. You mentioned that culture is the first, mindset is the second, and our employee well-being is the third one. Is there more to it, or those are three critical ones that you need to handle these days?
Yeah, those are three. They're really affected by the next one, which is we have to learn to be nomadic. What I mean by that is, you think of nomads out in the desert and they would wander from place to place.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it's kind of like the workplace has become like that a little bit. And people are in many jobs are able to work from anywhere. And so we have to start to wrap our brains around how can I accommodate them doing that while still trying to keep this thing going in the same direction. I was with an organization where one of their employees who works in business and finance with them, and he was living in California in the San Francisco Bay Area, very expensive place to be. And so when COVID came along, all the employees were given the ability to work from home. And what happened was they actually found that in many cases they were more effective working from home.
Mm-hmm.
So he and his wife decided, well, if I can work from home, then why don't we move to the East Coast where real estate is much less expensive? And so he's working 3 time zones away now and working as part of this team. But it does require his supervisor to kind of adjust to, okay, I've got people now in different time zones who are all doing this work. And so it's kind of like a work from anywhere attitude and trying to figure out your leadership in that kind of a context.
Yeah. And building culture in that context, Carson, that's got to be challenged, right? Different environment, different time zone. You still got to build a culture. Olden days, we used to just go in the office and have that cultural feel to it. But now it's got to be challenged for leaders to build that culture.
Yes. And I think, Gurmeet, I think that one of the most important things here is that leaders have to know when you have to have a face-to-face meeting. It can't always be virtual. Mm-hmm. And there are some meetings where it's absolutely essential to have the people in the room. An example would be employee conflict. There's a conflict situation taking place.
Yeah,
I've never seen that effectively addressed virtually. I think you need to get people in the room face to face, and let's work this through and come to a solution. Another example would be strategic planning. I really think that there's something that happens when you get your leadership team into the room and you're trying to do a plan for a year or 2 years or 3 years out. There's something that happens when you're together that you can't replicate virtually. Now, later when you're voting on the plan, or you've got a board of directors, I think that the financial meeting that follows actually can be done virtually. But the actual creation of the strategic plan, no, we got to be together for that. Would you agree with that?
There's a creativity to that, right? I think that the creativity piece comes in when we are in a person with everybody, right? I think that's where creativity comes in. That's where the brainstorming comes in. I think that's where the area is that you need to have a back and forth, and in person that makes more sense. That's my understanding. That creativity piece that goes into strategy that comes in a person a much higher level than that it will be in a remotely.
Yeah, I agree.
Interesting. So, sorry, go ahead.
Well, I'm going to give you another one if you're ready.
Sure, go for it.
Workers today really want an empathic leader. They want you and I to lead in a way where we're genuinely and truly open with them, where we connect with other people, where we ask them, how their kids have done starting up in school this fall. They want to be felt like they're a person, and they want an authentic, empathic leader that's who they want to work for. And there's some leaders who have just become a little mechanistic in their working environment. They're like a machine. But I don't think that cuts it anymore.
Very interesting. So we talk about a mindset, we talk about culture, we also talk about setting up example or leading with the example, many different areas. How big changes, on a personal development side for leadership? You got to work on yourself before you be in the position to do all that stuff for a company. So how much challenge has created recently on a personal development and getting the right mindset? Because if you don't have a right mindset, there's no way you can create that culture with the right mindset.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, it all does start from the inside of you and I as leaders, and where we're going to do that. And I mentor from that kind of a position. So let me give you the last two, and then I'll tell you how I mentor leaders like this. Okay. The next one is be versatile.
Okay.
And I'm having to work with a lot of leaders to help them learn how to shift their leadership style. If we're trying to lead somebody and we only use one method of leading, we're going to exclude a whole bunch of people who just don't connect to that. And I think we've had kind of the freedom to almost ignore that when things are going really well. But now we're heading into a time when it's going to be very competitive economically for organizations and things, and there's going to be challenges over getting good employees to be part of that. And I am just saying, hey, it's time for you to change your leadership style. And when I talk with some leaders about that, they don't even know where to begin with that, because they've used the same sort of approach for years, for decades maybe. But that shift is needed now. So that's that'd be a key thing. And the last thing I would say is, I tell leaders that your self-development and the development of your team has never been so relevant as it is right now, that you cannot afford not to be building into yourself somehow, and to learn and to grow, and to learn how to build your team and how to have them grow. It's just never been more important than it is right now. So as I've been going across the country talking with business leaders of organizations, these are kind of the 7 things that I focus on. And in some ways, it's to stimulate them towards growth and to help them to move forward.
Well, if you can summarize the list, Carson, the first one was a culture, then we talked about mindset, and then a well-being of all their staff. And what was the next one we talked about? I've been taking notes for.
Yeah, the next one was being nomadic.
Nomadic. Okay, got it.
Yeah.
And there's a 4. What's the last 3? The one was a mindset. The last one.
Work with empathic leaders. They want to work with people who are real.
Okay.
Be versatile. Change your leadership style. And the last one was that self-development, team development has never been so relevant.
Wow. I mean, it does explains how much work is in front of the leaders, these days, if they want to get to the level where they, to get a handle on all these items. There's so much work needs to be done. And your last point, the personal development, that's where everything starts from. Yeah, it does. Because if you're not in a good mindset, how would you help others if you're not the same level?
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Okay. So let's talk about, you recently just gone through a conference, across the countries, and you probably met a lot of people there. So anything you find the commonality between, is it the same 7 things you see that, and you tell them, or any experience you had that you see differences in different regions, or is the same leadership challenges that everybody's dealing with?
I'm actually finding pretty much the same leadership challenges wherever I was, and so there's a commonality that has come about. I believe just because of what COVID has done to our world and our industry and our lives, and so that's I'm finding leaders a little desperate, actually, in like behind closed doors. They will admit that they're a little nervous about how to lead now. And a lot of leaders, Gurmeet, don't have anybody to really talk to about that. They don't have a place to go to share, and that's where a good mentor coach can be that sounding board for them, somebody who can listen to them and hear their heart, and help them figure out how to move forward with their work, with their lives, and not be afraid.
Yeah.
So
yeah, actually, this was one of the reason I started this channel, that on a leadership, they all making working themselves. There's a little bit lonely on the top. We used to call it, and they have to make a lot of decisions. So that was the inspiration behind me starting this channel, that sharing their wisdom with them. So when they're dealing with some items or making decision, at least there's some information out there. So, let's talk about mentorship. This day and age where we just gone through recently, and all the items are critical to business leaders. They definitely have to, lead and also build a company so they can scale up. There's so many challenges. How important is a mentorship? You can definitely read books. You can definitely, there's a lot of information available out there. But in an era of this information, available, how important is a mentorship from your words?
yeah, I think that like the research that's out there shows that people who have a one-on-one relationship with a mentor actually succeed at a much higher rate than others do in their professions. So there's an actual immediate sort of payback from having a mentor in your life, and that is that they tend to get promoted faster. They tend to make wiser decisions. So there's all sorts of benefits in that way. But there's another benefit that happens, and that is having somebody in your court that you can talk to that does not have a power position over you. So it's not somebody you work for who can determine your next promotion or something. This is talking to a mentor who's on the side, walking along with you, and helping you just talk through and think out loud about what you should do. I use a mentoring matrix as my internal sort of platform for how I go about mentoring leaders, and I've mentored well over 1,000 leaders. But I start like this. I start with if I was engaging you as a mentor, I want to begin by getting to know you from the inside out. And so it starts with, who are you? And what makes you tick? How have you been wired together for this life? It's like, what's your personality like? I want to know everything about that. And it's leading to a place where the mentee, has a really clear idea of their identity, of who they are. And by the fact of doing that, you also identify who you are not. And it's not been uncommon to have somebody go, I'm really not the person who should be doing this job, or on the other side, I've got a lot more to offer than I've been giving to this point, because my identity is such that I'm the right person for that. So we start with identity. Then I move them to some questioning about, are there any bad habits, are there any things from your past that you need to be freed up from? It may have been that you worked for another company and you were released in a harsh manner, and you've never really gotten over that. And mentoring is not counseling. Mentoring is this walking alongside, but I sure have referred a lot of leaders to seek out a good therapist to deal with this one little thing. You've got a lingering memory there that's holding you back. So let me help connect you with a good therapist to be able to go back and talk about those things from the past. So identity, then freeing up. And then the next phase of my mentoring approach is to begin to talk about visioneering. What might your vision be for yourself, for the organization going forward? And there's a lot of mentoring that happens out there where people start at visioneering, because that's a fun area to do mentoring in. So you get to share dreams, and and there's a lot of energy builds up and everything. So we like to jump there right away. But I want to tell you, Gurmeet, if you don't deal with the identity and the freeing up part, then you just won't get anywhere with the visioneering. So I like to spend as much time as we need, actually, in the identity and in the freeing up stage. And I would also make a comment that women mentors are much better at this than male mentors are. I think they listen. Maybe they're better at listening, and they are willing to linger there long enough to get it to get us past that. So that's kind of a little sidebar there for our conversation. After visioneering, the next mentoring phase for a business leader is implementation. So you have a picture of a vision now. How do we implement it? How do you step it out? And I work with a lot of younger leaders, and when a younger leader gets a vision, they'll say, here's my vision, or here's where I am, and here's my vision. And they want to do this in one step. They want to just immediately get to their vision. And all of us can attest to the fact that's not how we got where we are. We have to walk it out in steps. I'm finding that with the millennial generation, it's important for them to see movement or to see motion. And so helping them create steps that will take them up to their vision gives them that sense of, well, we're actually growing, we're doing something, we're moving. It's not stagnant. So implementing also is helping them get a laser-like focus on their vision and not dabbling in a bunch of other things. So a mentor can really help you stay focused when you're doing that. And then after implementation, the last phase of the mentoring matrix is sustaining. There's a lot of leaders right now who need help mentoring in the area of just sustaining, like staying with your job, like keeping going. And a mentor can really be helpful in helping you to figure that out and to know how to hang in there and to keep working. So that's the model that I use. And when you get to the end of sustaining, if somebody's really struggling and they're going, I think I need to move on, then I ask them, well, what is it that you're learning about yourself in this? And it actually takes us back to the center, which is about their identity.
Yeah.
And what is it that's making them feel antsy and wanting to move on to something else, perhaps prematurely? So,
where you see what kind of mistakes you see people go through this process and they make some mistakes. What do you see where people make mistakes when they start mentee programs?
Well, on the mentee side, I think it takes a while for them to actually put in the work of mentoring. Mentoring is not just having coffee with somebody. Mentoring is, having somebody, allowing somebody to join you on the journey of leadership and to provide you with some input, all of which is intended to increase your ability as a leader. It's not for any other purpose. It's not to help the mentor at all. It's all about helping the mentee. So sometimes mentees are just resistant or frightened about allowing somebody to walk along with them. And I think with men in particular, men can feel like, I don't need any help. I don't need anybody to help me. Yeah. And I think that, I think that we just need to get over it.
Everybody
we need to
help.
get over the fact that we do need help.
Yeah, everybody needs help.
Another mistake that can happen in that context is when the mentor skips over steps and they don't deal with the identity, and they will, try to jump to visioneering too quickly, or they suspect that they know what the problem is and they jump to some other solution too quickly.
Got you. Yeah. Is that one of the goal on this program, Carson, is to, if I'm trying to achieve my goals, let's say I have a goals in front of me, I'm trying to meet my goal. Is that one of the intended outcome is that I can get there by making a lot of mistakes here and there. But if I'm a mentee, I can avoid a lot of blind spots, a lot of mistakes, and I can get there eventually much faster than I would do by myself. Is that one of the expected outcome from it, that I could be there much faster by avoiding all the blind spots and mistakes?
Oh, certainly. I think I wrote a book called Mentoring Leaders, and in it I have a phrase that I don't think it'll offend your audience, but I said in it that all of us need somebody in our lives who can look us in the eye and say bullshit. Like they call you on your stuff. And it's done in a way that's it's not ending the relationship. It's just saying, I don't believe you. And I'm here to walk with you on this. And you're right, you will get there a lot faster if you'll allow somebody to come in to your life and be that mirror for you, to give you the feedback that you need in order that you can grow.
Yeah. Very interesting. Yeah, no, definitely, there's so many blind spots, especially when, I know a lot of my business leaders, they're building a companies, they were very good at something and they started a company, they're trying to grow a company, and at the same time, they got to deal with a lot of leadership challenges. And, there's so many blind spots, and somebody can handhold. Definitely, when I started a business, I go through a lot of books on an ongoing basis. The books, they help a little bit, but definitely it's not the same as having a mentee or a mentor on your side. And then, going to avoid a lot of stuff, because books not going to give you feedback. No, that you can read, but there's no feedback from it.
Right. That's right. That's books provide a lot of good content and a lot of great ideas, but they lack that mirroring aspect to them. Occasionally it can happen. You're reading a book and you go, oh my, that really speaks to me. But I think it's more person to person that takes place.
Yeah. you can go through a lot of books and trying to get some feedback, or talk to somebody who's already done the work or who already has experience in it, and help you get through it. Definitely,
Yeah.
I'm always looking for, people who can help me out with some of the
Yeah.
stuff.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Okay. So where you see some of the challenge for business leader, Carson, is, we need to definitely build a good culture, good teams, and at the same time we gotta grow the companies back again. We need to scale the companies because the revenues has to come back again, right? After the disruption. Right?
Yeah.
So
Right.
where you see what some of the challenges people struggling? We talk about those 7 items that they need to get better at. Where else
Mm-hmm.
you see that challenges are, finding that the balance between those two, and moving the companies forward. Because without moving companies forward, there's no way you can make any progress, right?
Right. Well, I think to help your company move forward as the leader over any kind of a team, I think we need to think about. Well, I can give you four words that start with H:
Mm-hmm.
the head, the heart, the hands, and habits. So you look at your organizations, and you start with your head, and you give some time to think really deeply about about leadership theories and practice within your organization. You think about what are the elements that are currently informing our leadership challenge right now. So it's all cognitive work, intellectual work that you're doing, and you need to stay current. Like, leaders need to be reading articles and journals that are talking about the change in leadership right now. We have to keep ourselves informed about that. So that's with the head. And then with the heart, I think that this thing about our identity and our character really counts as an essential foundation for your leadership going forward. Your workers want an authentic, real leader who's empathic, who's kind. And so to lead your company forward, you actually have to look at the motivation of your heart. And how are you doing? Why are you pushing so hard in this direction? So it's challenging that, I guess, or just pausing to think about it.
Wow.
And then hand is really, I think, they're about sort of the skills and techniques that we practice within the company. Are they relevant for leading today as they were in the past? And do they fit our callings and our context for what we're doing? So working at skill development, and maybe developing some brand new skills. I think you do that by evaluating against your previous practices, and you look at your values, and what are you really concerned about, and you try to look at that in light of the end result. Like, what are your results right now, and are they working, and what might we do differently to do it? I'm going to a meeting in New York City at the end of the month, and it's a reimagining meeting where they are looking at a way of doing business that has been practiced for 30 plus years. And now they're going to reimagine the whole thing. They're willing to deconstruct it and to rebuild it again. And I think that's a really good way to be leading forward for this. And then my last H was habits, and it's developing some new disciplines in our life that will equip us for leadership today. And I don't know what that would be. I have
Mm-hmm.
suggested to some leaders that they get up an hour earlier and have a time of kind of ramping up into their day and taking the time to do that, but doing it intentionally and to do that. Or I think habits that will help guide our head forward, that will I can't think of examples right now, but it's like
Very interesting.
we may need to develop some new habits.
Mm-hmm.
So
Very interesting. So let's talk about your journey a little bit. How did you get interested in a leadership and helping people? So, what's been your journey and how did you start helping people? How you get so interested in building leaders?
yeah, my journey in the business world started when I was quite young. I went to university and was going to university planning to follow the footsteps of my mother and father. And they ran a business that was home furnishings and interior design business. Both of them had studied interior design, and I thought I wanted to be an interior designer until I got to university. And then I realized that all the things that attracted me to that were actually the artistic side of it. And when I got to university, they kind of made a science out of it. So that I didn't like that. I just didn't. But while I was there, I had a new business idea, and this thing just kept developing in my head. And when I was, anyways, I started a new form of business. I took what my mother and father were doing and changed it, and it got me into a kind of leadership, building a team when I was really young. And when I was 25 years old, I was voted the retailer of the year.
Oh, nice.
Here in Canada. And so that was my start. And then I have been developing leaders now for a long period of time. And the book that I wrote back in 2005 called Mentoring Leaders, that's really what propelled me into doing this full time. And so I have been involved in raising up leaders full time since 2005.
Very interesting. So you have a books that you recommend some in a leadership as if somebody wants to develop a leadership and do some homework, Carson, do you have books you recommend that what people should be looking into or reading?
I tend to be hesitant to throw out one book for everybody's needs, because I do recommend books all the time, but I do it after I kind of know what their needs are. So if at the end of this people are interested in wanting book recommendations, I'd be happy to give it to them.
I'll include your contact information below the video as well, so people can reach out to you. Definitely. And I learned so much from our discussion, and business leader who are watching, who are listening to us, I will recommend definitely, take a look at your articles and get a copy of your book and go through some of the, a lot of good blogs on your site. And if they like what they're hearing, and reach out to you for conversation, definitely. I learned so much. I'm sure all the business leaders who ever connect with, they're going to learn so much. And who knows where that discussion take you, but I will definitely recommend reach out to you, connect with you, and go from go from there. Any message you want to leave for business leaders who are watching or listening that we just gone through disruption. 2023 is right in a corner. What can they do to prepare themselves for what is any challenge ahead of us?
Well, I would say two things. In 2023, build relationships. Like, give a portion of your day, of your week, to building relationships. And and think about building them outside of your normal comfort zone, because it's going to take a whole community to get us through this. And there may be people that you need to be connecting with beyond your normal sort of group. And the second thing I would say is develop people, starting with yourself.
Yeah.
But really, do the people that you're leading or coaching or teaching, do they feel like they're growing? Because development, the development of people can and should be a constant in their lives. So that's where I'd start. And you can be the one who can lead change for your organization, but you need to model that from within.
Yeah, very interesting. Definitely, that's something I gotta take away from learn, and I'm sure business leader watching, they're gonna that if that's a message, they definitely, it's a hard work, but you gotta do the work, right? Otherwise, without a work, there's no progress. But that's where the hard work comes in. Good. So thank you so much for time. I learned so much. I look forward to our future discussion. Thank you so much for time.
You're so welcome. Thank you.
Thank you.